Hi guys, it's Lori Seeley, functional medicine health coach, and today I'm hoping this is going to be a really quick one. First, I want to say Happy Valentine's Day. I'm recording this on Thursday, February 14th, 2019, Valentine's Day. So today I want to talk about a simple way to test for food sensitivities at home. Now, a lot of us know that there are sort of expensive food sensitivity tests that you can do. Some of them require blood draws. Some of them require just pricking your finger, and then it's a dry blood test that you send, like you put your, you drip your blood onto this card in 5 separate spots, and then you let it dry and you send it in to have it tested. Well, those are all really good tests. I've done them. It helps to have the numbers. Those are good to do. But sometimes we're just curious, like, am I sensitive to anything? And so there's a way that you can do this at home and you interpret it yourself, and it's not a blood test or anything, and it's really simple. And like a lot of other things in functional medicine, it can sound like hooey. It can sound like, witch magic or whatever, but it's not. It's absolutely not. It absolutely works. It's absolutely true. And you can just do it yourself, and it's cheap, and this way, like, possibly it's just something that you'll do to see, like, oh, am I really sensitive to stuff? And then you can see, oh, I'm having a reaction to this, and then go ahead and get yourself those tests. Then later on, maybe it's just going to be something that's going to sort of talk you into getting a test on your own, or you'll just rely on it completely. It's totally up to you. Totally up to you. And I can help you with this too if you want. So first, I want you to understand, I want to talk to you about this, why it's important to know what foods you're sensitive to and why it especially matters for people with Candida overgrowth. Okay, so I talk about this in my blog post from this week and also the one from last week, and I'm going to mention it also in the blog post for next week. I have the link to the one for this week in the notes up above, okay? So why it's important to know what you're sensitive to, and especially why that matters for people with Candida overgrowth, is because Candida, when it overgrows, when it becomes fungal, it will create intestinal permeability, which is leaky gut. Okay, so this is something that I don't know if it's 100% across the board, but I know from my experience with my own body and with my clients and case studies that I've read, I have never run into someone with a Candida overgrowth who did not also experience leaky gut, also known as intestinal permeability. So I believe that it's everyone. Now, somebody may come to me and say, oh, not this person. I would still find that hard to believe. So let's just go forward, assuming that everyone with Candida overgrowth also has leaky gut, because that's the nature of fungal Candida. It eats through your gut and creates holes in the intestinal barrier. And then what happens is undigested food leaks through those big holes because, your food is not supposed to get absorbed through your intestinal lining until it's digested down into the smallest possible molecules. And then your body recognizes it as sugar, protein, whatever, and it knows what to do with it. But when you have something as healthy as broccoli that's just chewed up and not fully digested, when that leaks through that intestinal barrier, your body does not see that as all the components of it, carbs and fiber and blah, blah, blah. It sees it as, what is that? It doesn't know what broccoli is. Your body doesn't understand broccoli as broccoli. Your body understands broccoli broken down into its little bits and absorbed, okay? And that's what your gut is for. But if your gut can't do that job before it gets absorbed, your body gets broccoli. And then it goes, what is that? Oh my gosh, foreign invader that I've never seen before. I'm going to attack it. And so what it does is it creates inflammation around wherever that broccoli is. So that can be anywhere in your body because your blood goes everywhere, right? It attacks it with inflammation and mucus. And This is what creates a lot of the bloating that we get. This is what creates headaches, brain fog, eczema, anxiety, like so many different symptoms that are symptoms of inflammation, joint pain, muscle pain, all sorts of things. Okay, so then after a while, when you've had intestinal permeability for months or years, then your body keeps seeing, like a lot of us are creatures of habit, right? And we keep eating the same things over and over and over again. So like me right now, I'm on this cabbage kick. I'm having cabbage for like at least one meal almost every day. If I had leaky gut right now, my body would start to see cabbage as a foreign invader. And then it would start to see it as a repeated foreign invader, that like, oh my gosh, what we're doing to kill this thing isn't working. So we have to do more. We have to create antibodies to cabbage, right? And so if I had leaky gut right now, I would be developing antibodies to cabbage over the months, over the years that I'm eating it so much, right? And this goes for everything that you eat frequently. The more your body sees it leaking where it's not supposed to be, undigested, the more it's going to create antibodies for it. And that's how we get food sensitivities. That's the definition of what a food sensitivity is. It's when your body has antibodies to a certain food. Okay, so now we understand why that's important and why it matters, especially for people with Candida overgrowth. And I do have a blog post also how this links to autoimmune issues, which I'm not going to get into here because I said at the beginning I was going to try and make it short, right? So, but this is also linked to autoimmune issues. And you can go to my blog to read that post if you haven't seen it yet. So, for this lovely little free, easy, at-home food sensitivity test, here's what you do. You take the food that you want to test. Now, let me tell you first, don't test bread or pasta, because those things have a lot of different ingredients. So if you're concerned about something like gluten, which I think is probably on the top of a lot of people's lists, what you want to do is take some wheat flour and test that, okay? Or another ingredient, and that is eggs. So take some raw eggs and cooked eggs. You have to test it both ways and test that, okay? Yeah. So you take this food, whatever it is, let's say it's going to be wheat flour, right? Just a little bit of it and just a couple drops of water, enough to make a thick paste, okay? Because you don't want it leaking everywhere. And you also don't want it like powdering off, right? So you have to add a little bit of water and filtered water. Don't get something straight from your faucet because that's going to have chlorine in it and stuff. And then we don't know if you're reacting to chlorine or what, so filtered water, clean water, okay? And you make this little paste, right? And then you just put like a nickel or a dime size, like right here or anywhere on this soft, sensitive part of the inside of your arm. And then you cover it with a Band-Aid and you leave it on overnight. Okay, so this is something that you're going to want to do like right before bed. You just leave that on overnight. And then in the morning, you remove the Band-Aid and you wash it off and you see, is there any irritation there? Okay, so if it just looks normal, you might want to take a before and after photo. And if it just looks normal, like it did last night, you're good. You're not sensitive to that food. Yay. But if you wake up the next morning and it's pink or red or blotchy, or you suddenly have pimples there, or you have any sort of a swelling, or like it could be just raised skin where it was, like it's just inflammation, but it's not even pink. Any of those things, if it looks irritated in any way, that means that you have a sensitivity to that food, and it's probably a good idea to stay away from it at least for a little while. Now, I want to tell you the good news is that food sensitivities are not necessarily a life sentence. Sometimes they are, unfortunately, but in a lot of cases, it's not, okay? So a lot of times when you have a food sensitivity, all you need to do is be aware of it, and then you avoid that food for 4 solid months. Cold turkey, none of it. Not just, oh, I can have a little bit here and there. No. Stay away from that food that you're sensitive to for 4 whole months. And you want to do this, like if you're sensitive to 5, 6, 7 foods, take them all out of your diet for 4 months, cold turkey. Okay. And then at the end of those 4 months, you start to reintroduce those foods. You can redo that food sensitivity test that you did on the inside of your arm or your wrist. And you can also just start eating those foods. If you're going to reintroduce by eating, what you do is you eat a good portion of it for like each meal, all 3 meals during the day for about 3 days. And because sometimes a reaction doesn't show up right away, or it's not noticeable right away. But if you notice anything like headache, brain fog, some kind of constipation, diarrhea, digestive issues, usually when you're staying away from it for that long, the first thing that might show up is going to be, like, in my experience, a headache or diarrhea or constipation, which is harder to notice. But anyway, like joint pain, there's a lot of other things that can happen too. Brain fog, stuff like that. And you really have to be sensitive and be aware of your body to really be able to pay attention and know if you're reacting or not, which is why this skin test is really handy. Okay, so if you reintroduce a food and you notice no reaction, you redo the skin test, no reaction, awesome. You can reintroduce that food into your diet probably quite safely, okay? Like it's safe to say that you can probably reintroduce that food into your diet. But if you still have a reaction to it, like say you have a headache half an hour after you eat that food and you know for sure, yep, that was it. That's what did it. For me with eggs, unfortunately, because I love eggs, I feel like they're nature's perfect food, perfect balance of fat and protein and vitamin A. With eggs, for me, I can't eat them at all now. If I eat an egg, I will have complete inflammation in my entire body and diarrhea for 3 days straight. Like, not even kidding. It's awful. And this has been more than a year that I've been staying away from eggs. So no more, so that's going to be one of those things that's like, no more eggs for me ever. Sometimes I can have a bite of something like a gluten-free pancake that was made with eggs. I could try one bite if somebody says it's lovely and I'm not going to notice a reaction. But if I eat an actual egg, well, I might be constipated for like a day. But if I eat an actual egg, it's a severe reaction. It's awful. Nobody wants to be around me during that time. It's horrible. I'll get sick too. I'll actually, like, if there's any sort of a virus around, my body is already inflamed. It's like I can't fight one more thing and I'll get sick. And so anyway, so that's an example of a severe reaction that could happen if you still have a food sensitivity. But anyway, so that's the way to do it. That's the way to test for it. That's the way to hopefully purge yourself of your food sensitivities. And in a lot of cases, you can do that, like with things like things that aren't naturally inflammatory on their own, which unfortunately eggs are a little naturally inflammatory on their own. And so I think that's why I still can't eat them. But like things like gluten and dairy, things like that are naturally inflammatory just on their own. And so a lot of times if you develop a food sensitivity to those antibodies because of leaky gut and stuff, chances are those are the things that you're not going to ever be able to reintroduce. Those are pretty likely. But if you have a sensitivity to something like broccoli or zucchini or fish or chicken or I don't know, think of some nice healthy food, spinach, if you end up with a sensitivity to those and you stay away from it for about 4 months, chances are pretty good that after that 4 months, you'll be able to reintroduce those healthy foods into your diet again, which is great. Okay. So I lost my place in my notes and there's just one more thing, a couple more things I wanted to mention before I go. Okay. So if you want to learn more about this, I did write a blog post about it this week, and there's a link to that in the notes. And if you try the test, please comment in the video here. If you're watching the replay and you try this test, I want to know. I want to know what you did. I want to know what the reaction was. I want to know, like, did you make the paste too runny and it came out of your Band-Aid? Or like, I want to know all those things. so that I can use, so I can give you tips how to do it better next time, or so that I can like use it just in my practice and kind of, you know, just understand and help you better. Okay. I totally, and plus I'm interested to know that because I'm a geek and I love hearing about people doing experiments about whatever. And so, okay, so please leave those comments. If you have any questions, leave comments here, tag me in them. I'll be back to look at that, okay? And if you have a Candida overgrowth and you're ready to work on it with a professional who's been in your shoes, please go ahead and schedule a Candida kill Candida and repair your gut strategy session for free with me. I'm giving these sessions away for 30 minutes for free. Okay, so the link to do that is above as well. And I would love to talk to you about this, okay, and see if maybe we're a good fit if you're ready to start really working on this and kill your gut Candida once and for all. I'm there for you, okay? And again, happy Valentine's Day to you all, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.